Constitutional Conversations is a series of discussions by America's leading scholars about the principles, framing, ratification, and implementation of constitutional government in the United States. This series is hosted by the James Madison Memorial Fellowship Foundation of Alexandria, Virginia.
Probably the most important act in emancipating slaves was this gradual process that started in Pennsylvania, where states would provide for a gradual process. It was felt that immediate emancipation would be too disruptive. Now that occurred in Massachusetts, where in the Walker case, slavery was outlawed, but it did take about 3 years for that to be accomplished. But the Quaker movement in the North, particularly in Pennsylvania and in Rhode Island, the Methodist movement in Virginia tried to eliminate slavery. But it was this gradual process where the status of the child would be determined by the mother, but any child born after a certain date would be declared to be free. And that child would stay with the mother until they became an adult, and the masters were supposed to be training that child to be full-fledged, free individuals with occupations, reading and writing capability. So it was that gradual process that was important. It's interesting to note that New York passes a gradual emancipation bill in 1785. But that bill was a terrible bill because it provided that any person with any bit of black blood in their veins, any kind of ancestry that was African American, would be disenfranchised. They couldn't vote, they couldn't be elected to office. Whereas before 1785, freedmen could vote in New York. That wasn't true in every single state. The Council of Revision, which is sort of the grandfather of the presidential veto, it was made up of the governor and the chancellor, the chief equity judge, and the three justices of the Supreme Court. They had a veto power, and they vetoed that bill. And it went back to the legislature. The one house overrode the veto by 2/3 vote. The other house did not. And so that bill did not pass because it would have created an apartheid system in New York. It's not until 1795 that New York passes an appropriate gradual emancipation bill. So these gradual emancipation bills, I think, are the most important process that frees many slaves at this time.
Constitutional Conversations is made possible by a generous grant from the Fairleigh S. Dickinson Jr. Foundation. Constitutional Conversations is made possible by the James Madison Education Fund.